Welcome back to the Floyd Memorial Library podcast, a window into the soul of the North Fork of Long Island. We'll delve into the pulse of our community, its pressing issues, promising opportunities, and the rich stories that weave our shared history. I'm your host, Christopher Bianchi, and for episode 109, we sit down with Jess Paul, photographer, writer, and musician, to explore the journey that led her to the North Fork, from growing up in North Carolina to spending summers here as a child. Jess shares how her early love for literature, art, and music shaped her creative path. We talk about her time in college, the unexpected turns in her studies, and how photography became a defining passion. She reflects on the deep influence of her grandmother, whose presence on the North Fork played a pivotal role in her life. Now a full-time resident, Jess has immersed herself in the artistic community, working with Polaroid emulsion lifts, and currently exhibiting her work at Greenport Harbor Brewing Company on Carpenter Street. We discuss what it means to be an artist, the creative energy of this place, and what she loves most about calling the North Fork home. So I hope you enjoy episode 109 with Jess Paul. This episode was recorded February 5th, 2025. Thank you so much for coming on to the Floyd Memorial Library podcast today. It's really nice to have you on today.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
Absolutely. So in the beginning, could you introduce yourself briefly and share where you were born and raised?
Sure. My name is Jess. I am a photographer, writer, musician. I was born in Philadelphia, have lived in Fairfax, Virginia, and Cleveland, Ohio. But then I spent most of my childhood in North Carolina. So North Carolina is home.
Nice. And in terms of your ancestry, how far back can you go, whether on your family tree, on your both of your parents' side?
Let's see. I'll start with my mom's side. So both of my mom's parents are orphans. So we can't trace, we can trace back a little bit. Some relatives are doing that, but my mom did not know her grandparents. I'm trying to think. And I know on my dad's side, my dad has done ancestry.com and traced back very far. I can't remember off the top of my head everything. But I do know my relatives started coming out to the North Fork in the 1890s. I have some notes here. I want to get my dates correct.
Sure.
So it was my great-great-great-grandfather, Robert Coningsby, and my great-great-great-uncle, Reinhold Kuster. They came out to New Suffolk to work on the John Holland Torpedo Boat Company. And that was 130 years ago, which is a long time. Wow. I know. I've been telling everybody, I've been on, my family's been here for 100 years. It's actually 130 years, which is wild. So they were out here to work on the submarine, which was built in New Jersey and tested in New Suffolk. So they were working on the first naval commissioned sub in the U.S. Navy. So I was actually talking to my dad about this last night, getting my dates right and getting the story straight. But so my dad was talking to his high school social studies teacher, Jack Gibbons, and he pointed out, there were subs in the Civil War and actually the Revolutionary War too. But the sub in New Suffolk was the first naval commissioned sub in the U.S. Navy, which is very cool.
And that was all research that your dad kind of went into?
Right. Yeah. So my dad did. And actually, you can't see me because this is a podcast, but I have my grandmother's book here. She wrote a book called My Story, where she wrote down all of our family stories and her memories. It's really such a gift. So there is a page in there about the submarine. But I was just talking to my dad, because my dad, knows his family history really well. So that was good.
And then in terms of your parents, did they grow up or in the Northeast area?
So my dad actually did grow up out here, went to Mattituck High School. My mom is from Pittsburgh, and they met when my dad went to Pittsburgh for medical school.
And what are their professions?
Yeah, so my dad is a doctor. He is an orthopedic surgeon in Charlotte, North Carolina still. He is fellowship trained in sports medicine. So he takes care of sports teams, sports injuries. He's a really great doctor. My mom studied theater and child development in college. She actually worked for Mr. Rogers, the TV show, when I was young, when she was pregnant with me. She's a great actress, and now she keeps busy. She volunteers. She has a jam company. She's just always on the go.
And then, so for you, you said you grew up in North Carolina?
I did. So, born in Philadelphia. I don't remember it because I was very young.
Yeah.
I do remember we were moving around for my dad's medical training. So he was working at the hospital in Philadelphia. Then we moved to Fairfax, Virginia, which is a suburb of DC. I do remember Fairfax. So I was there, maybe from age 1 to 3. And then we spent a year in Cleveland. I do remember that really well. And then moved to North Carolina when I was 4. And I lived from age 4 to 31 to 32.
Okay.
Yep.
And how was, even as a child growing up there, did you say what area of North Carolina?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in the suburbs of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
So I've never lived in the city. I grew up in a small town called Concord, North Carolina, which is about maybe 20 or 30 minutes out of the city. And then when I was a teenager, we moved to Huntersville, North Carolina, which is also 20 minutes outside of the city.
Okay.
It was a really magical place to grow up. North Carolina is beautiful. It's so different than here. I mean, you're maybe 4 hours from, you're close to the mountains and close to the ocean, just a short drive. Yeah, North Carolina is really beautiful.
And were there any favorite childhood activities that?
Lots, yeah. So I have 3 sisters, so just playing with them was probably number 1. I was definitely into reading. Started reading at 3. That was the big thing. Took piano lessons. Got more serious as a teenager with that. Didn't really enjoy piano lessons growing up like a lot of kids.
Yeah.
I tried lots of things. I tried dance. I did that till I was 13. I got to the point where I was wearing pointe shoes, but realized I had no future in dance. So I decided to try something else. I played soccer. Everyone on my team scored a goal that season, and I didn't score a goal, so I was discouraged with that. I played basketball, and I was actually pretty good at basketball. I kind of wish I had kept going with that. I'm pretty competitive.
And how was your, I guess, more of your schooling experience?
Yeah.
In terms of teachers and classes that you took?
Yeah, so I was actually homeschooled the whole way. Or maybe I went to kindergarten and first grade.
Okay.
But even that was split. It was just a couple of days of the week, and then I was homeschooled the rest of the week. So I guess from first grade on, I was homeschooled.
Nice.
I know. I know, kind of unique.
Yeah. But even during that time, did you have any favorite subjects? What you enjoyed learning?
Yeah, so I always been drawn to English and try to think that's the big one. I do
more
not
reading and English.
And writing. Yeah. Being homeschooled, it was fun and creative, and we did fun projects, and I'm not good at math at all. My dad's a big math and science guy, and helped me with my homework, and I do like science, but not naturally gifted in that. I like it if it's interesting. I like biology, and I took chemistry, and that's about as far as I went with that.
And even during your time as a teenager, were you interested in the arts, or photography?
Yes. So I've always been drawn to it. I would say, I guess, books first, and then, I stuck with the piano lessons, even I just something, I kind of, my mom told me I would regret it if I quit. So I just stuck with it. And then I kind of fell in love with, I realized I could sing when I was like 10 or 11. So after that, I was like taking serious voice lessons and piano lessons. And that's when music kind of started to get fun. I was kind of playing the music that I like to listen to. I got very into musical theater. I'll talk about that later. But musical theater, even opera, I was like very serious into voice lessons. And with photography, I've always been drawn to it. So I got my first like real camera on my 16th birthday from my parents. But my mom said like I was like taking the family digital cameras. Before then, even like the film cameras, I was just always like drawn to it.
And in terms of finishing up your homeschooling, what were you thinking of doing after?
Well, I will.
That?
So I will say, like maybe in middle school to high school, I started taking most of my classes online.
Okay.
So like especially English, and I mean, because my mom was homeschooling 4 girls. I don't know how she did it. At the same time, like a wide range of grades. It's very fun and chaotic. But I did I had some really great classes online and live classes with a teacher. They call on me, use a microphone. So I was really drawn to my English classes and really thrived in those. And I had a great teacher. Fell in love with like American literature and Shakespeare and like so much. And we did like fun projects. Like in high school, I did a project where I recreated Much Ado About Nothing with Barbies. It was very fun, like just creative and silly, and it was good. But I mean, so I was doing all these things in high school, but music was my big thing. And my dream was to be on Broadway. I don't really have an acting background, but I thought, I'll just figure it out and have the voice. I have the training. So the plan out of high school was to study voice in college and then be on Broadway. I will say, like, I was really good in English and kind of focused all my attention there and was not good at math. So I kind of, I actually like applied, just remembering this now, I applied, I just wanted to stay in Charlotte. So I went to University of North Carolina in Charlotte. I applied and they actually turned me down because my math scores were so bad. So I had to like take another class and take another test and then, they let me in. But I applied for the voice program and got in. So I was like doing opera and musical theater. And I will say, and my big instrument is piano. I know a little guitar, a little banjo. I can read sheet music kind of slowly. So I mostly play by ear. So when you like apply to be in the voice program, they test your musical theory knowledge. At that, like I've learned a lot since then, but at that point, didn't know my music theory that much. I was playing by ear. So my first semester at college, was taking musical theory and voice lessons. I was practicing too much, really overdoing it with the musical theory, the musical theater, and kind of pushing my voice to do, I have a kind of a quiet voice. I was kind of pushing it too hard, maybe some improper singing, I don't know, but I developed a voice disorder in my first semester of college. That was really, really heartbreaking. I didn't really have a plan B, like so laser focused on singing. It was just confusing and it was painful. I was going to the doctor all the time. And just really heartbreaking. It's really intense. Like I was telling somebody the other day, I mean, I was going in like to take a picture of your vocal cords. They have to stick a camera down your nose, like on a wire. It's very painful. I did that a bunch of times. I was in voice therapy and it was like a complicated problem and it just didn't go away, even though I was going to the doctor a lot. So I really struggled that first semester. I struggled to like transition to being in a classroom after being homeschooled.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like a new learning experience. I was just taking the basic classes and I, was not doing well in science. Like I did turn it around and I got great grades at the end of the semester, but I worked really, really hard. I was so burned out after that first semester, kind of traumatized. So after that, I took the year off to like regroup and figure out what I wanted to do. I mean, I was so confused and like, at the same time, I'm like still taking pictures. I'm still documenting like my family and my travels. So like my background with the North Fork, I have been on the North Fork every summer of my life. So visiting my grandma.
I was going to ask that if even throughout your childhood, if you had gone back and forth to the North Fork.
Yeah, so every single summer, except one year during COVID when we weren't traveling. So I missed that summer. But, since I was a baby. Yeah, so I will talk about my grandmother maybe later. I do have a lot to say about her. And that actually plays into my solo show too. There's like a section devoted to her. Just really influential in my life. But I'm sorry, what was the question?
No, well, I guess I had asked what you were career path upon coming out of high school.
And I'll just say, like with career path, it was never clear. I didn't even know if I wanted to go to college. I was really encouraged to by my parents. I was just very lost at that point in my life. I knew I liked art, but I didn't have any confidence in it. It wasn't really... Also, I have very bad stage fright when I play music. I worked through that. I was getting solos at church. I was playing at like the Homeschool Arts Festival. I was playing at recitals. So I do have experience performing, but I've always had stage fright. I just kind of studied voice because I didn't know what else to do. So in that year that I took off, kind of leaned more into photography. I started second shooting weddings around that time. Like second shooting is like when you're the assistant, you're not the main photographer there. You're kind of there as a backup or, just reinforcement or, so I started doing that and it was such a great experience. I was getting great feedback, was making money and weddings are so fun. Like that's when I fell in love with shooting weddings. So I kind of, after that year, I thought, well, I guess I actually didn't even know if I was going to go back to school. I was very confused. And I was pretty traumatized after that first semester. I did decide to go back to school and I thought, well, next logical choice is photography. So I decided to pursue that. I took art history, took several art history classes, and then I applied to the photography program and I did not get in. So that was another really big heartbreak. I was like really confused because, I was shooting weddings and like making money and people were happy with the photos. And I don't know why they turned me down. I think maybe because my portfolio was kind of all over the place. I didn't really, I don't know, who knows?
That was at UNC Charlotte? Yeah,
so UNCC.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, most people have heard of, UNC Chapel Hill. That's the big one. UNCC is like, it's a very big school in Charlotte. It's growing. It's good. And I was just living at home and commuting like a half hour. So I was really devastated when I got, rejected from the photography program. I didn't know where to go from there. I think I kept taking classes, was doing really well in the English classes. So I decided to make that my major, and that's what my degree is in. And I just kind of found my people in the English department. So it was a good experience.
And I had another question, I guess, related with that, because you mentioned kind of what drew you to photography, but coming out as a English major, how did that influence your kind of next step, or if you even were going back into photography after that?
That's a good question. Like, it makes more sense to me now. I was like very confused at that time. Like, it all helps. It all like influence. Like, I think the English helps me be a better photographer and like helps me be a better musician. Like it's all connected. I don't regret anything. I have struggled with like kind of having three things and like not being really good at one thing. So it's been slow because it takes a lot of time to learn.
And after you had graduated, what were you thinking of now? And
yeah, so that's a good question. I knew I didn't want to teach. So my degree is in English and my minor is children's literature, and I focused on like creative writing. And it was such a lovely experience. The English department at UNCSC is so great. And like children's literature, like it's like one of the only places in the country you can study that. They have a master's in it, which is really special. Like I learned like, the history, like, and I do like want to write a children's book someday, and I think I will use that. But yeah, there wasn't really a plan. I respect teachers so much, but I know that wasn't for me. And I wasn't really ready to be a published writer or work in publishing. At that point, I just kind of knew I wanted my degree and would like figure it out later. So I graduated, and from there, I think I took the summer off, and then I started working in my dad's office. So he's a doctor in practice in North Carolina. And I did that for like the next 10 years. And I was doing my art on the side.
Okay. And even during that time, did you come to the North Fork more frequently, or?
I did. I mean,
was that later?
I would say, depending on the year, like some years we'd come up for a week, but a lot of years we'd come up for, 3 months. And then sometimes in the fall or the spring. When we were little, we did Christmases up here. It's definitely focused on the summer. And it was like always so special, and like looked forward to it all year. Because the summers on the North Fork are really magical. Now that I live here and I've experienced all the seasons, I like them all for different reasons. I even like the winter. I like being cozy inside. I like the snow. I like that it's quiet too. It's pretty busy here in the summer.
Yes.
A lot going on. But yeah, so going back to my grandma, so we're coming up to North Fork to visit my grandma. So family's been out here for 130 years. And then she started out, I'm sorry, I forget how old she was when she moved to Mattituck. She was born in Brooklyn. They had a house in Mattituck on the creek when she was young. And then eventually moved over to Cutchogue and Nessa Point. Her family built a house there, and she was an only child, and so she lived there with her parents, and then they left it to her, and it's still in the family.
And did you get to talk to her about or what she thought of the North Fork? Even?
Oh, yes. She loved the North Fork. She also loved to talk and tell stories. She loved the North Fork, and it's filled with memories. She loved memories, even when she was, she had dementia at the end of her life, but, had lost her short-term memory, but she still had her long-term memory and could remember kindergarten or her parents. It was really something. But yeah, I have so much to say about her. We just driving around, we used to go to yard sales on Saturday mornings, and she would, kind of exploring all the towns, and she had memories everywhere, saying, well, so-and-so lived here, or memories everywhere.
I think we'll talk about your grandma more even with the exhibition, but right. In terms of your time in North Carolina, is that, you said while you were working down there, you were getting more, in terms of your art practice through those 10 years?
Right.
Were you focused mostly on photography?
That's a good question. I would say photography and music at the same time. So I lost my voice, and we could not figure out the problem. And it took a very long time to heal. I'm actually still healing. But after I lost my voice, I thought, well, I'm going to focus on piano and be the best pianist I can be. So I was working really hard at that in my 20s. like not taking lessons anymore, but like I would go to work and then come home and play piano for 3 hours. Like that was my life. And I've just always done photography too, just documenting my life, my trips to the North Fork, my sisters, even my grandma. Like I have so many photos of my grandma, my family. I would say like those are my big, it's like subject areas in my 20s. Just documenting my life. And I experimented with video. Like I learned how to edit video as a teenager. So I was making these fun little videos of our trips to the North Fork. I mean, it just, like the North Fork really played a big role in my photography growing up. And also, so my grandma has her degree is in fine art, bachelor's in fine art. So that was her passion, and she was a painter and did all kinds of things. I mean, she made art out of rocks and driftwood and made owls. And her art is all over her the house in Nassau Point. And actually, her mother was an artist too. So it runs in the family.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then were you also shooting mostly digital, or did you do film? When did you get into film?
Let's see. I mean, as a teenager, probably like as a young kid, it was film. Digital wasn't around. So I was playing with the family film camera. And then we got like a really early digital camera, just like our family did. And I used that so much. And then I got a nice like Nikon for my 16th birthday, which was digital. I experimented more with film in my 20s. Like I got my Mia film camera, and I was like collecting cameras from yard sales. I got a Polaroid land camera, which they don't make the film for that one anymore, but they were at that point. I wish the film would come back, but just trying different things. Yeah.
And were you thinking of during this time of trying to show it at all, or?
Yeah, that's tricky. So I was like doing this and not showing anybody. Mostly. I mean, I showed a few people. I mean, it's never been on my radar to do fine art or be in a gallery. That's just
you were just like, I'm interested in photography.
I'm just like drawn to it, and I think
documenting,
yeah. Because it like felt so special, and like these memories, I don't know, it just was a really fun, special time. I did start showing my work online a little bit, like with Flickr, the website, and I was posting to Tumblr and MySpace a little bit, not really consistently. I will say, like, I was so discouraged by getting turned down by the photography program that like totally like zipped my confidence for a long time. I was really hurt and confused, and like it's fine. Like I've, made my peace with it. I would have loved to have studied photography, but like I was kind of meant to end up in English.
And were you thinking at all during this time that you wanted to move to New York, or?
Not really. It was just really funny. It was like a summer place. I did dream of being in New York City in my 20s. Like that was the big dream. I was kind of a city girl. Grew up in the suburbs, like in neighborhoods, but with like these trips into Charlotte, and loved visiting New York City. Like I love Broadway, and I love the restaurants and the shopping and the park, and I just love New York City. The museums were big. It was never really on my radar to move here until my 30s. I will say, like, I also kind of felt like I didn't fit in up here because I had no confidence. I was very intimidated. But I was like going to parties, in my 20s, and just feeling very intimidated by people in my 20s. And like I knew I wanted to be an artist, but I thought it really wasn't in the cards for me. Very insecure.
Well, because I did my undergrad in studio arts. And,
you did, really?
MFA.
Oh, nice.
In art and technology, but
very cool.
It was always kind of the whole art world and getting involved in that is always kind of a hard thing. And
it is a hard thing. I was so intimidated. I will like even go back to my grandma. Like, so she's, a painter. She illustrates. But she didn't show in a gallery either. I don't, I just didn't really see a way how to do that, know?
And it's not like there's one correct way either.
Oh, I know that now, but in my 20s, I thought
you're like, I have to do it.
I know, and that's why I like share this with people, is because I want to say, like, you don't have to go to school for it. I mean,
yes,
it's like really great for some people, and they thrive. And I wish I knew. I will say, like, I wish I knew more about like the history of photography, and like I'm learning now. Like you can do that on your own, just research, but some people like study art and it's not a good experience, and it kind of ruins like what makes them unique sometimes, I think.
Yeah, because a lot of the time they might, you actually should be doing things this way.
Right.
Not leaving it open for people to grow in different ways.
Right. So it just depends on the person, like what kind of artist you are. I don't know.
Yeah.
I will say, I mean, and there's like, I don't know, maybe I'll go back to school someday for it. I don't know. Like you can go back anytime.
Yeah.
So I take a class.
And then, so when did you officially move to the North Fork?
I moved to the North Fork in 2023 officially.
Okay.
I mean, so going back to the end of like I said, I was very focused on piano in my 20s. My 20s were really hard. It just kind of got harder and harder as my 20s went on for me. And I like to focus on positive things too. I don't, I did some travel. I also got into shooting concerts then. I've always loved going to concerts.
Would you do that in North Carolina or throughout?
I started in North Carolina, and then I've done a little bit up here, going to the city, and then some local musicians here are so great. But I mean, I love that. It was my passion. So I will say I did some traveling, went to tons of concerts, but I was feeling really left behind, like with my peers.
What about even during COVID? What were you
Yeah, so I'm getting there. COVID was not good for me. I mean, it was not good for a lot of people, and I don't, it was a really, really hard time for me. So I was still working in the doctor's office. We weren't dealing with COVID patients, but I was so scared of getting it. I was like wearing 2 masks. I was so anxious. And like I said, I just felt like I was getting like more depressed as my 20s went on. Like I knew I wanted to be doing art, and it was just not happening because I wasn't showing anybody. No confidence. So my life kind of like hit rock bottom during COVID. Like I've told my friends this story. I've like shared little bits of it here and there. It just hit rock bottom, and I had to start over. I will say, like, also I'll tell you more about this later, but I'm like working on a book right now, and I will like share, I'm going to kind of save this story for the book. Yes. But I had to start over, and my life is kind of like before and after that. I'm like, sorry not to share more, but
no, that's fine.
So after that situation, I actually like took a year off of work too, and tried to figure it out.
That was like 20.
I was 29.
Okay.
So I'm thinking like 2021, like a year into COVID. Yeah. But I will say, I just took time off, and I worked really, really hard on changing and, doing the work and improving myself. And, I'm grateful. And I learned I can start over, if I have to ever start over again.
And did you feel like you needed to move to like a new place or start?
Yes, I did.
Fresh?
So, yes, that's what kind of led to me moving to the North Fork. So I was, I think I was 32 in 2023, and, doing better, like in my personal life, like in a better like headspace. So that summer, summer 2023, I came up in the end of May and stayed. Actually, I just stayed. I didn't, I didn't go back. But that wasn't the plan. I just had like a really like fruitful, creative summer. That's actually what led to the Polaroids. I took a class online from a friend who lives in India, and that was really eye-opening for me. Like, I haven't really taken many classes. He was teaching me some technical things, but a lot about like being an artist. And it was just really great experience. And like from there, I was motivated to like try new things. I was drawn to Polaroid. I don't know why, but that's the summer I got really into Polaroids. And I also, I mean, I didn't really have any friends. And by this point, like my sisters have all moved across the country, across the world. So that's when I started taking self-portraits because I had no people to photograph. And I wanted to practice. So I did. I started taking the Polaroids and self-portraits with the Polaroids. I was playing with digital.
I guess because I had a question with that in terms of self-portraiture. That's kind of what you were drawn to starting out here, or
right.
How does that influence your approach to capturing other people?
Ooh, that's a good question. I've actually always done self-portraits. I don't know, you like learn how to pose. It's tricky. I mean, I've got the tripod. Then I run over and set the timer. I actually broke a Polaroid camera doing that. It fell off the tripod onto the sand and broke. I know, not fun. I just try to like be creative with it. I don't. Some people are really good at it. They're like really, really good. I was just practicing, and out of necessity, I guess.
And then also, did you start experimenting with Polaroid emulsion?
Yes.
Lifts?
Yeah. So I just felt this draw to Polaroid. I don't. And also, like it's coming back. I mean, it is. Yeah. Like this resurgence. I just think it's so fun. And I was like discovering these new Polaroid artists like on Instagram. Some people are really talented and like really, really good. Really creative. It's like unpredictable. You think, I always think they're going to turn out, but a lot of times they're too dark, too bright. It's like, you got to get the settings correct. But like when it works, it's like so magical, really beautiful. But that's so I didn't invent Polaroid emulsion lifts. I found out about it online. So I started experimenting with that, and it's so fun. I'll just explain the Polaroid emulsion lifts if you don't know what it is. So like you have the Polaroid with the white border. For the emulsion lift, you cut up the white border. So it's a square. You peel apart. There's like a plastic front to the picture. You peel the layers apart. You stick it in hot water, and then it separates from the backing, and it becomes this, the emulsion is like a very delicate, I don't know how to describe it, layer. It's so fine and delicate. Yes. It is so delicate. It's really beautiful when it's like floating around in the water. And then what I do, I stick a piece of watercolor paper underneath and then transfer it to the watercolor paper. But people get creative with it. You could do a shell or a sea glass or a driftwood. I love seeing what people do.
And then I think there's also kind of a nice, I guess when you're doing that process, like a chance or unknown in terms of how it might, because there's somewhat of a limited control in what you can do, but that's kind of the nice.
That's like the beauty of it. I mean, I will say like, so it works best with a fresh Polaroid. Like, I would say the same day, even 2 hours. Like, you got to let the Polaroid develop. You can't do it too early or it will be undeveloped. But before it, like, adheres to the backing is best. That's, like, a very clean lift. Usually no rips. It comes off, The thing that gets tricky is if you use an old Polaroid. It's much harder to separate. and it often rips. But I will say, I it's very emotional doing these because they rip. It's so delicate. I don't like when they rip. I get upset. And then it turns out in the end, it's like the rips are beautiful. Like I've got, pieces up at the show, in many pieces. And I will say, like, it's very difficult when it rips into pieces because you're like I've got all my fingers, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
The clean lifts are easier, but yeah, it's just like a mystery to me too. Sometimes they're done really quickly. Sometimes I'm working on it for hours and I lose track of time. It's just like you dip it in the water and it will ripple, it will fold, and you just keep doing it until you like what you see. It's kind of a gamble. I don't want to, like, sometimes I'm like, it's okay. I think we could do better,
But not wanting to like work it too much that
exactly.
Then they can't go back.
Right. And like the summer of 2023, I was just starting, and I have done a lot since then.
Yes.
I learned the temperature of the water. I learned what watercolor paper I use. Like, I know everything now, but there's still stuff I'm learning. It's still very unpredictable. And there are some books about it. I have a great community online, people I ask questions. I'm on forums. I'm very into this.
Yeah. And also coming out here, you obviously have talked about it even coming out in the summer, but just the beauty of the North Fork is also something that I think you've captured in your work as well. But does that inspire your, just like being out here, and
it does
inspire your artistic
it has my whole life it's inspired it, so I grew up doing painting with my grandma. Like she she's a painter. We did watercolors on her lawn. Like those were kind of the best memories, just like watching the weather roll in, the clouds, and just painting. I'm not a good painter, but it doesn't really matter. And I would say, like, I've just been documenting the North Fork since I was little. I was even writing about it, like, in school, like in my essays. Like, it just has this hold on me. I will say, like, in the summer of 2023, when I was like deciding if I was going to move here, I just realized I wanted to be by the water. I just was like, and the natural beauty, like I said, I was thinking about New York City. I don't know, I'm still open to anything, but yeah, right now I just like the natural beauty, and it's just like so unique out here, and the artist community out here, and the little towns, and the vineyards, and the farm stands, and the restaurants.
And how has that been, even interacting with the artist community out here?
That's been great. So that's also what kind of led to me coming out here. I started, getting a little more confidence in my work in summer 2023. Kind of had a breakthrough, after like, I'm doing this since I was a kid. So like 15 or 20 years of practicing, I'm like finally like happy with my work. I kind of figured out my editing style. Like that was a long journey. Tried lots of different things. Was like over editing as a teenager, kind of keeping up with trends, and I look back now and it's really ugly to me. But I was learning, kind of like figured out my editing style. Was loving the Polaroids. So I started posting my work on Instagram a little bit more, got a little more confidence in myself. And that's when my friend Kara saw the emulsions. She's like, this is really cool. Maybe I'm interested, like maybe bring them by the gallery. So Kara owns the North Fork Art Collective, owns the North Fork Art Collective in Greenport, New York. So I did. I had only done a few at that point. So I got the best ones, put them in a little bag, came by, and she like said, they're good. Believe in yourself a little more. So she put them in in a show that was December of 2023. Yeah, December. Yeah. And they sold. Like I put 5 in and they all sold.
Wow.
I had no expectations, and it was very surprising. Like, I'll never forget that feeling. But yeah, it's been history since then.
And you've been involved with the North Fork Collective, Art Collective.
So
now.
So they did in 2024 there were 6 shows. Like I've been like really lucky to be a part of 6 shows, all 6.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes I just have one in there, you know, sometimes I have a few. And then I started working there on weekends and, you know, helping with openings, just helping with little things. And that's kind of how I learned the art gallery side of it.
Yes.
Because, you know, I...
kind of some of the behind the scenes.
The behind the scenes, yeah. Like learn how to make tags and learn, you know, like a lot of the little things, you know. Good learning experience.
Mm-hmm. And also, I guess we can talk about your exhibit.
Yeah.
And then this is your first solo.
It is.
Exhibit. And it's called In an Instant. Could you talk a little bit about how this exhibition came about?
Yeah. So it's called In an Instant: Memories and Mirages in Blue. So it is all Polaroids, and I'll get to that later. But how it came about was I had some blue Polaroids in the collective, and Anne Vandenberg from the brewery came to a show, or just came over to the gallery and noticed them, and they just stuck out to her. So she reached out to me about doing a solo show, and I was really, like, I felt good about it. I mean, like, those feelings of, like, am I good enough? You know, keep coming back up, and, like, you're like, me, really? But yeah, we, you know, I was honored to be asked. Like, you know, like I said, it was not on my radar, but I like to try new things, and I thought, it sounds like a great opportunity. Like I'm in.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's how it came about. And then we talked, I don't know, I mean, the show did kind of come about last minute. We talked earlier in 2023, and then with scheduling, decided to have it be January 18th opening. This is 2025 what we're talking, so January 18th, 2025. So I worked really hard on the show the last month before.
Just kind of planning out what you wanted to use.
And putting it together and editing. Like I didn't really shoot like I had the Polaroids, a lot of them. I shot some, but I was working on lifts a lot, and just like, I've never done a solo show. I was confused. Like, how much work do I need? I just didn't know. And yeah, and then, I mean, we decided to make the Polaroids all blue, you know, so that was, you know, a challenge because I do color and black and white too. And I'll describe the blue film. So it's Polaroid Reclaim Blue 600 film. So it's actually sold out, and I don't know if they're coming back with it. They don't have plans to. It's sold out. It's actually expired. Like expired a year ago. So, you know, at some point it's just not going to work well anymore. I buy it on eBay and keep it in my fridge. So that, and it's also much more expensive than the normal film. Because it's sold out and people can, you know, raise the price on eBay because it's in demand, and it's like such special film. It's so beautiful. It like looks like a cyanotype. I'll describe it like it's just like black and blue. You know, like kind of like black and white, but black and blue. And it has, some are like turquoise, some are darker blue. And I will say, like, it's so magical to work with. Like the different films have different chemistry. Black and white's a little tricky for some reason, but the blue is just magical.
And that's something that they just stopped.
They did. It was like a limited edition. I mean, right at this point, they have a green 600 film, which I do not like as much. I mean, I'm going to try it, but the blue, there's something really special about the blue. Yeah, they do limited edition films.
And then also, you had found vintage films in your grandmother's attic.
Yes. So I can't remember what year that was. It was actually my cousin who found it,
okay.
Caitlin. Yeah, so my grandma's attic is really magical. Really magical my whole life. There's like tons of dress up, tons of antiques. I mean, it's just the best. Like so much dress up, wigs, beautiful dresses. So I've grown up dressing up, but I can't remember what year she found it, but she found some films and got them digitized, and they're really beautiful. And it's my grandma in her, it's like vintage footage of the North Fork, sailing, New Suffolk. My grandma, like her wedding, it's like kind of just like a slice of her life. I mean, it's, you know, it's just not her as young, but maybe at 19 or 20. Her with her mom, her at, you know, her house in Cutchogue. It's really special. Yeah, so that was actually a part of the opening at the show. I mixed that vintage footage with like modern footage, like drone footage. There's one clip where my grandma's coming out the door with her mom, and I kind of recreated that at her house, you know, just like side by side. Yeah, so there was like a short film at the opening, and I will put it online too, so people can see. I need to work on that.
No, but that's interesting, kind of weaving or bringing that into combining that with the Polaroid photography.
I think so too. I mean, you know, with the Polaroids, I do have a modern camera, so that it's called the i2, and it's like a very nice camera. You can manually control it, do self-timer, you know, do multiple exposures. But I also love my SX70 from the 70s. So I got a refurbished one. You can get them on eBay or yard sales. Like, they're amazing cameras, and I like them both for different things. Yeah.
And I was curious, just kind of, was that footage from like the 40s or 50s?
40s to 50s. Like, I don't know what year. Yeah.
And then weaving then and now, bringing these different eras together.
Yeah.
What were you kind of thinking for what the viewers might take away from that, like juxtaposition?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that kind of is like the theme of the whole show, I would say, you know, like, so memories. I will like describe the show too. I would like people to like go see it.
Yes. you don't have
April.
To describe.
I do want to talk about it. Yeah, so with the vintage film, I didn't really expect people to sit there and watch it for the whole 3 minutes. I just wanted, you know, like little bits, and I really like the footage. Like, I do love video, and I'm trying to learn more at that. Like, I do know how to edit video and shoot. I'm trying to explore more with that this year. But I will say, like, with, you know, the footage from the 40s and then now, so there is like a section of the show devoted to my grandmother. So with those Polaroids, yeah, people were a little confused because I have photos from my grandmother's life, like her young, like like at 19 or 20, and then, you know, through her life, and then I have some that I took, you know, because I have a lot of photos of her, but I was not around when she was in the 40s. So with those Polaroids, I used a Polaroid printer. Like, people were a little confused. They're like, are you cutting up your family photos? I'm not. Those I use a Polaroid printer for. So I think there are maybe 10 of her, and then it's mixed in with the poem I wrote about her life. So she passed last year at the age of 98, and I wrote the poem. I had hoped to read it at her memorial, but it did not come together in time, and then all of a sudden it came together in one day. So the poem is mixed in with the Polaroids, and it kind of, the photos illustrate the poem a little bit. Yeah.
Nice. And also, now just seeing this show come to fruition, but just, I think you've touched on it a bit, looking at some of your earlier work compared to now, but how have you seen your style and approach evolve, and are there any pivotal moments or experiences that have significantly influenced this?
That's a great question. I will say, you know, like, I mean, I was not very good when I started. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just having fun documenting my sisters. And then I really had to learn. I mean, you know, like, the technical aspect of photography didn't come naturally, and I didn't take a class. So I really had to practice with that. What I did was, like, I went on Flickr, and I would, like, see a picture that I liked, or like So like in high school, I was taking a lot of pictures. My sister was a dancer. I was taking a lot of pictures of her dancing. So I would look up a picture of a dancer, like a beautiful picture, and then I would look at it's called like the EXIF data. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like their settings. Like,
yes.
Yeah. And so like it was on Flickr. So I would study that. And there's probably an easier way to like just read a book. But that's what I did. And I will say like early in my, when I was 18, like I said, I was experimenting with some really ugly filters, weird colors. I'm just having fun and experimenting. I mean, looking, I liked it then, and I was, following the trends, and I did not know how to edit. I would say like it's been like a slow process. I mean, also like that's maybe why I didn't get into the photography program. The editing was weird, who knows? So I taught myself to edit in my 20s. I use Lightroom. I'm really picky about color and texture and everything, but like color is the big one for me. It's just been trial and error.
I think for most people, kind of looking back at earlier work, it can be interesting, but also, oh, that's interesting that I was doing something like that then.
Yeah.
Or maybe
it's interesting. That's a good perspective. I mean, I try to like be kind to myself, and like you don't start out where and it like I did, my mom says like, everybody saw it all along. You had potential. You just never believed in yourself. I really didn't believe in myself most of my life. Was just drawn to it. I mean, I'm still proud of some of those pictures too. And some of them are cute, like me and my sisters, I did take like a lot of my sister dancing, and I do still love those. But it just took 10 years, and now like I'm very confident in my editing now. I would say like more, let's see. So I do a few things. I do digital and the Polaroids, and I'm trying to learn film again, experiment more with that this winter. With my digital work, I've kind of nailed my editing. I can do it really quickly. I love editing, love adjusting, and I got my colors down, and I kind of feel good about it. I prefer a more timeless color scheme, especially will say like now I'm getting into weddings and portraits, and I'm doing everything, events. I mean, I'm experimenting with a lot, but weddings are the big one. And I don't want to like follow trends. I want the pictures to be classic, and I want like in them to be in a photo album in 50 years or 100, and I don't know. I mean, at the same time, like I want it to be interesting and exciting and unique. With weddings, it's like, usually it's like, unless it's like an unconventional wedding, the same thing happens, So I think it's like a fun challenge to be unexpected, and
And you see yourself continuing to try other things, but still, like what you want to do, and
I do. I mean, I don't know. Like I'm thinking a lot about the future. I mean, I don't know. Like I do have like I plan for this year. I do have like the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, but like things just keep changing, and and like with my art in the gallery, it was never on my radar. It's like been this fun surprise in my life, and like I'm gonna keep pursuing that too. I have big goals for that. The show was such a good experience. I mean, like it was hard, and challenges just came up that I didn't expect. Like the Polaroid printer broke one day, and I couldn't get it ordered. Like the stores around here didn't carry it, so I just got on the bus to the city and went to the camera store, picked it up, and turned around and came back. Like people don't, because I was working really hard on the show. So there's a lot that goes into it, but it was a good experience, and like the opening was so fun, and I just want more of that, and I have a lot to say about it.
No, but I think that's exciting with that exhibit, and I think it's always kind of I think different things that do pop up like that you never know whether you do have a plan for, this is what I want to do this year.
Right.
But sometimes there's always something that comes out of nowhere, and then,
and I, like I said earlier, like some people are like they know what they want to do at age 3 and they just pursue it and they're excellent at it and there's like tunnel vision, and I'm not that way. And I was like kind of embarrassed for a while. I just wanted to be I wanted to be the best at one thing. But I've learned, you know, like in my 30s, like I have a better perspective on it. I mean, there are some people who are very good at multiple things, right? I mean, and I've just learned to like change my relationship to it. Like, I mean, I'm really focusing on photography this year. Like that's like what I want my career to be at this point. But I'm also getting back to music. I mean, I just do it now for the joy of it, because I just do it. And so getting back to piano, I mean, it's also very funny to me. I mean, I really thought I was going to be a musician my whole life. You know, I did photography on the side, but it's just kind of funny to me that the photography is when people are, it's very funny.
And that's kind of come into the center of things right now.
I mean, it's very funny. Like you like work hard and then like put it out in the world, and you can't really control people's response to it, or you really can't. You just do it and let it go. It's just funny what sticks. And then getting back to writing, I mean, I'm trying to write a book. It's coming along really fast, but it's also no joke. And I am trained to do that, but like writing is a mystery too, and you know, good writing and
that's separate from, because you said you also wanted to do a children's book.
Yeah, I think that's going to be in the future. I can't do everything at once.
No.
I do have an idea, but and I have a lot of ideas, and like they're not all going to, you know, some things just need to be an idea and, you know, just need to let it go.
Was there any, I was going to ask also, we might have touched on this a bit too, but just for other people that might be coming out of high school or looking to pursue photography professionally, what advice would you give based off of your own experiences and growth as a photographer?
I mean, I really like this, but I'm also like just starting my career.
Yes.
Which is like, I know, I feel like I probably do confuse people. I mean, they're like, what are you? Like a musician, writer, photographer, and like all three. And like I said, I've been working really hard for many years and not showing anybody. And then just in the last couple of years, starting my career and showing people. So this is such a good question. And I also like share my story to like encourage people. Like,
yes.
And I also try to focus on the positives too. And like, especially like online, I just share my work. I don't want to be negative. I try to share others. But like at the same time, I'm proud of like my struggles and how far I've come. And that like gives you a new perspective. Sorry, this is kind of rambly, but getting back to
no, I think even
it plays it. Yeah, I mean,
you're sharing your experience and
I mean, my advice is like you don't have to go to school for it. I mean, I wish somebody had like told me that when I was 20. I mean, if you want to, like, that's awesome. That could be, you know, I mean, if you want to teach yourself, it'll probably take longer. But you just come to the library or use the internet. I mean, it's like all there, you know. It's like right at your fingertips. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to keep thinking about it, and it will probably be in the book.
Okay.
Also, like, it's good to like share your work with other people. I mean, that's been a fun new thing. Like, some people like share their work when they're just starting out, you know, and then you can like see like the progression of how they've grown. I've done a little bit of that, but I don't know. Just have to decide what's good for you. And
And so now, since being out here full-time since 2023, what do you enjoy about living and working on the North Fork?
I love so much. Yeah, I'll go back to like North Carolina. I mean, you know, lived in the suburbs my whole life, lived at home And I do love this. I had like a really sweet childhood.
Mm-hmm.
My best friend lived next door. I had my sisters. We were always playing in the woods, in the backyard. And North Carolina has its own beauty.
Mm.
I loved going to the city and going to the museum. And I will say, like, also Charlotte, where I'm from, is changing so fast. Since I've moved there, it just has been growing so fast. And it's like a different place than when I moved there.
And it's probably interesting. I don't know if you hear from people from the Northeast have been moving to South Carolina and North Carolina.
I know. Everybody tells me that you did the opposite. I know. There's like an influx of people. I mean, it is cheaper down there. And it's like you can have a beautiful life. I mean, and I will say, like, I kind of like at the end of my time in North Carolina, I kind of did find a little bit of an artist community there. So there's like Charlotte is, it's like a business, like very financial. There's great museums and restaurants, but my favorite place in Charlotte is the Arts District. It's called North Davidson or NODA. And I became friends with the artists who like founded the Arts District, and like that. So their names are Ruth Ava Lyons and Paul Sayers, and I've just kind of started meeting musicians in Charlotte and other visual artists. Like there's some incredible people down there too, and like their encouragement really helped me, and it probably gave me the confidence to move up here. But it was just time for a change too. I lived in Charlotte or North Carolina for almost 30 years. Went to school there, and it was just time for a fresh start. So, like moving here just changed my life. I mean, it like in every way. I love the natural beauty. I love walking to the beach. I have like found a great artist community. I mean, they're like really amazing artists out here, and they've been so encouraging to me, and that has been like pivotal, like huge. It's been everything, and just the community in general. I mean, there's so many amazing people out here, and I will say, like most of my 20s, I was really stayed at home a lot and didn't go out. So it's just been fun to have friends. I mean, I have my handful of friends in North Carolina, but just become very social. And I love everything. I love the restaurants. I love the farm stands. I love the little towns. It's so special.
Yes.
I could go on.
And then just being out here and looking to the future, what would you hope for the future of the North Fork?
I love that question too. I will say, like, I hope I can stay. It's also very expensive here. Very hard to be like a young artist. Really hard. So I'm like doing everything I can to stay. It might not be forever that I'm here. I don't know. Like, I'm open to like moving somewhere else and starting over again. Also, like, I'm learning my local history. I'm learning, there's like so much I don't know. I'm trying to get involved, in local politics. I just try to be informed and know what's going on. I don't know, I guess more of the same too. Like, it's pretty special. I think more, I guess I'm focused on the art. So like more, I guess like I'm, big on opportunities for like emerging artists like myself, and
even having more art venues.
Yes. Yeah, I mean,
places,
even like I don't have a studio. I hope to someday. My kitchen table is my studio. So like a studio I could afford. Yeah.
And I like to ask at the end if there was anything else you'd like to say or discuss that we haven't talked about.
I mean, like so much. Like, I'm also trying to save stuff for the book. Like, yes. But I mean, I'd like to talk a little bit more about my grandma.
Sure.
And maybe even a little bit more about like my family history, like my mom's side of the family too.
Sure.
Just a little bit, because I feel like I didn't say enough. Maybe that's about it.
Okay.
So they are, like I said, both my mom's parents were orphans. So don't know much about the family history. My grandma is Hungarian and my grandpa is Italian. I also took Italian in college. And I love going to Italy, so I like learning about that side of the like being connected to that side of the family. But I would say, there were actually a lot of artists on that side of the family too. So my grandma, who is actually still around and in Pittsburgh, is like a beautiful painter and sews and just so creative. And her sister, my Aunt Betty, was a painter. And so my mom grew up in a family of 9 kids. They had 9 kids in 9.5 years. And there are no twins or multiples. And they're like artistically inclined too. And like my mom describes it was very chaotic because it was a small house with 9 kids. Like, the boy, like 5 boys were in the basement and the 3 girls were like up in the attic. And she was just like saying everybody was playing different kinds of music at the same time. So there was like, the girls were into like Joan Baez and singing harmony, and my mom was like playing guitar and folk music. The boys were into drumming and they were in rock bands. They were into like Led Zeppelin. Actually, my mom was also into musical theater because that's what she studied, and she's very good at it. So she was singing musical theater. My other aunt was singing opera, and like all at the same time. So it was very chaotic and beautiful.
And is her mom, your mom's mom, is she's Italian?
My mom's mom is Hungarian.
Oh, Hungarian. And then the dad's Italian.
Italian, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and my grandma, so unfortunately my grandpa passed, but my grandmother is still around, still living in the same house in Pittsburgh, actually, where my mom grew up. Very little house, and still making her art.
And now also to switch to your grandmother, was she in New York City as a child? Yeah,
so she was born in Brooklyn, grew up in Rockville Center. Let me check my notes here. She grew up in Rockville Center, but then in the 1930s, she started coming out here to Mattituck.
What brought her out? Like what was that brought her out here?
I think, so the family, the connection goes back to the 1890s, but they bought a little bungalow in Mattituck on the creek. I don't know if I think there was a summer place for her at first.
Oh, okay.
And then they transitioned to full time.
Okay.
And then she, so she stayed here her whole life. She did, and like in her later years, started coming down to North Carolina in the winters because she liked the warm weather. So she was a snowbird. That's actually where the poem comes from. Yeah, I have a lot to say about her. She's like a wonderful character.
I don't know. Did you say what she did as a career?
No, so she has her bachelor's degree in fine art. But like I said, never showed in a gallery or, she would have loved that. And actually, in 2021, we did a show at the Cutchogue Library called 5 Generations of Art. So my aunt, Ann Berger, put that on. And we displayed poems from the MJ's work and then her mother's work, Jane Sector, and then my, my aunt's work, and then the children's work, and then it's 5 generations of women in art. So, like down from the littlest ones to, to my great grandmother. So that was really beautiful. I think she would have loved to have been in a gallery and been an artist, but she just did it, on the side, which is also beautiful. So she, for work, she had 4 kids, raised them, and her husband, my grandpa, was an accountant for Chinese restaurants on Long Island.
Oh.
So she helped with that business for like 35 years.
Hmm.
And yeah, they were married for 55 years. And she even taught art. She taught English as a second language. She taught Sunday school, loved to teach. She, this is a good story. In the 1980s, she was the president of the Save Robbins Island Committee.
Hmm.
I don't know if you know your Robbins Island history.
I know of Robbins Island, but I
Right.
haven't heard of that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still learning more too. I'm like trying to dig into that. So, like if somebody from like North Carolina is listening, I'll just describe Robbins Island.
Yeah.
It's like a 435 acre island in the bay, like mostly uninhabited. Like there's a house. I mean, I don't know.
Mhm.
Like there is a house.
A house out there.
But it's like, it's natural. It's uninhabited. But in the 1980s, my grandma, MJ, was the president of the Save Robbins Island Committee, which fought off developers and like other interest groups, like casino investors, like from purchasing the island. So in 1979, German developers bought the island for $1.3 million. And they were going to turn it into homes. So they were going to turn it into 20 homes. And then, I mean, it's got a very interesting history. Like you can Google it. And I don't know all of it, but I do, like, this is when like my grandma comes into play. Like I think then the investors got cold feet, and then the Prince of Morocco was interested in buying it. Like it's a very interesting history.
Yeah.
But she was like a passionate environmentalist and wanted it to be undeveloped and kept natural. And so she was interviewed on TV by Geraldo Rivera. And, he asked, what is like your opinion of the prince buying the island? And MJ had like such a quick wit, she just said like, Geraldo, it's not the prince, it's the principle. Just such a good line, and we've like quoted that, It's so good. And she was so witty, like even to the end, with her dementia, like so funny. But she was like threatening to chain herself to the bulldozers, like it was wild. And the island it's not been developed, so it worked.
Yes. Was she involved in other environmental? Because she probably saw a lot of some of the people trying to develop land out here.
Right.
Whether she probably saw from the potato farms to the vineyards, but
right.
there were, I think, times when people were trying to develop a lot of that land in the 90s or 80s.
That's like a really good question too. I mean, she like always loved the environment and loved birds and nature, and I think Robbins Island was a big one. Also, like I know so much, but there's also stuff I don't know. Like like it's such a gift that she wrote it down. I was like reading through it last night, and she's so funny. It's like I'm just like chuckling to myself.
Is that just a journal that?
So it's like family history. She puts in like all of her Christmas letters, which are like beautifully written and funny, and it's like a scrapbook. There are photos. It's like very moving, and I would encourage people to like write down their stories, it's really important. And like if you can, and she had so much fun working on it, like she wanted to get it done before like her memory was gone. I think she kind of felt it coming on, and she just like she was like in North Carolina working on this book, and it was like so happy for her. She just loved memories, and she loved her family, loved the North Fork, loved art. Like kind of like me, like I have a very vivid memory. I like to, very strong memory. I like to just kind of sit and reflect. And she was doing that to the end. I mean, lost her short-term memory, but she could still remember her kindergarten class, or it was just and everybody's names. And I wish I had, paid more attention to I think a lot of people's experience, wish they paid more attention to their family history and their, it's like so interesting to me now. And it's very, It's hard. I mean, I'm just glad she wrote it down. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I think, like, going back to the show, I mean, I think she would have loved to be in a gallery. You know, she would have loved to make a career, but, you know, she lives on in me. And I, like, I wish she were around to see it. But also, like, you know, like, her story is going on. You know, I have pictures of her in the exhibit and the poem about her. And it was just so moving to, like, see people come in and look at the photos of her. Like, it just wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah, and I think just she's probably happy that you're living out here too.
I know. I'm getting emotional. She would have been really happy. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's definitely nice for the exhibition.
It is nice. And I feel like, I don't know, like, I've been kind of working toward this my whole life. You know, I didn't, like, in a way, you know, like, didn't expect to be in a gallery, but I feel like it's a good first show. Like, it, you know, it's like talking about where I came from and my family, and, like, there's a section devoted to my sisters, like, who are, like, my first muses, like, who I practice taking photos of. There's, like, a big section of, like, my favorite North Fork scenes and places that have special memories for me, and there's some self-portraits. And I also will say, like, I had a very fun time naming the pieces. Like, I don't know, like, I didn't know how to name them. Like, I don't know how to do any of this. And like, I had to Google how to write an artist statement. And I also don't want to give too much away, because I like when people come in and tell me what it means to them or what they think it means. Like, that is so beautiful. Like, people were, like, analyzing the poem, and I'm like, like, I'm learning new things, you know. But I will say, like, a lot of the titles of the pieces, and I'm also sharing the pieces online slowly, like, every little bit every day. A lot of the titles are, like, song lyrics and that mean something to me, and book quotes and poems. And, you know, I like when people come in and, like, guess what it's from.
Yes.
So, I mean, like, so I've shared, like, you know, I'll just say, like, there's one by Joni Mitchell, who is my favorite artist. And it's a quote from a song about Amelia Earhart, like, a beautiful song. But there are lots of references to songs I love, and even songs that remind me of the person. Like, there's a story behind it. And actually, you'll have to read the book to know the full story.
No, I think even I'm kind of the same way with, I'll have a statement, but people might want to ask me more information about whether I did, like, a painting or a video.
Right.
But I usually, I'm like, go absorb the work first and come back. And
that's why, it's
people, I get why people might want to, like, oh, tell me so I know what I'm going into. But it's like, see what comes to mind for you first.
Right. I think that's why, like, at first I was just kind of, like, hinting, and I also, like, was really enjoying, like, people trying to guess where it's from. They're like, this is so complicated, Jess. Like, what is wrong with you? You know, no, not that. No, you know, it's just, I like little details like that. And I like inside jokes. I'll say, like, the poem, it's full of inside jokes. And that, you know, I kind of wrote it for myself, and, like, I've just loved that people resonate with it. That's been really special. It's just really cool, like, when people bring their own experiences to it, and then they tell me something about it that maybe I wasn't even intending to. It's like, I experienced that in college too, with, like, writing workshops and, like, getting other people's perspective on your work. It's like, you know, they're seeing things and making connections that you don't even know. It's like, oh, I guess so. It's really cool.
Yes. No, so I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the podcast today. It was really nice talking to you, and for you to share your story and your artwork. It was really great to hear.
Thank you so much, Chris. This was fun.
Definitely. And definitely check out the exhibition at the Greenport Brewery.
Correct. Yeah, the Greenport Brewery, the Greenport location, which is 234 Carpenter Street. And there's a location in Peconic, which is great, but my art is at the Greenport location. Yes, and it's up until April of 2025. Mm-hmm. Open on weekends or by appointment. And you can also find me. I have 3 Instagram accounts because I'm trying to separate my different things. So I'm Jess Lynn Paul, Lynn with an E, Jess Lynn Paul Photo, which is like a photo portfolio, and Polaroid Jess, which is Polaroids. And then my website is jesspaulphoto.com. And by the time this comes out, my website will be updated with new work. So that's where to find me.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
Well, I hope you enjoyed episode 109 with Jess Paul. I want to thank you for listening to the Floyd Memorial Library podcast, and we'll see you next time.